Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another video. This week, I'm very excited to talk about this, even though it's probably not the nicest topic to talk about, but I want to talk about forgiveness. I want to talk about still really having that kind of, honestly, hatred. Let's just completely keep it real. Like when we are still really mad, really upset, we can't let it go, we can't move on, we can't forgive, and these questions just still are ruminating in our minds. So in this video, I want to give you some tips on how you can start to kind of move from the space of real anger, maybe bitterness, into more of acceptance and really learning how to forgive someone for what they have done to you. One thing that I do want to start with is pain is something that we all have to go through. And when we experience it, especially when it's something having to do with a relationship, when we're in relationships and people betray us, when they lie to us, when they abandon us, when they cheat on us, whatever that looks like, there's trust that's broken. And that is something that really hurts the heart space. It hurts the ego, the wounded child gets triggered, and all of these things kind of come up. And especially when someone does it in such a hurtful way where maybe they're not sorry or they completely lied and are continuing to lie about it, but you blatantly know the truth. It can be really hard to move into acceptance and forgiveness. And believe me, this is not something that you're going to get done in one day. This is a practice and this takes time. So I just want to give you the validation that what you feel is perfectly fine, is perfectly valid. I think where most people start to get stuck is when they've been feeling it for a while and they're not able to move on. They don't want to feel that anger anymore, but they don't know what steps to do in order to start moving towards more forgiveness. There's so many stories that our mind tells us when we go through these bad experiences. And one of the biggies is going to be, why wasn't I good enough? What was wrong with me? Why couldn't this person do this for me? And we create these stories that this person has hurt us and betrayed us because we weren't good enough, or because the person that maybe they left us for was better than us. And that is not the case. And I think you do know that in a logical sense. Hopefully you know that in a logical space, but that emotional space really still feels not good enough, that you couldn't stay, that you couldn't be someone different for me, that you couldn't be the man or the woman that I wanted you to be. And of course, we go straight to the next question of, why didn't they love me? What people do has nothing to do with you. And I've said this for years and years and years, and I will continue to say it because there's always going to be a person that's really going to take what someone does to them personally. But the phrase hurt people is a phrase for a reason. And trying to understand why someone did what they did and why they are the way they are. And of course, self-reflecting to say, hey, look, what in that relationship could I have done differently? What could I have done better? That doesn't mean that if I would have done it better, that anything would have changed, because you can never be the woman of the year, the man of the year, and do everything right and still let this person stay in your life or keep this person in your life. Because when someone wants to leave, they want to leave. When someone has a wound that they don't want to heal, they're going to jump ship. So there's nothing that you can do to control what another person does, because you're in a relationship with another person, and the only person you're trying to get better and control is yourself. So when we understand that, number one, what someone does to me has nothing to do with me, and not taking what someone is doing personally, for me, that was like the biggest aha moment. It really helped me to start putting pieces together, was when I really got the concept that, wow, I didn't have anything to do with this, that maybe I didn't do things right at times. Maybe I wasn't always like the best version of myself, but let's just keep it real. Who is? This is a journey. We're all learning. We're all trying to grow. And the point of relationships is to really do this journey together, to have someone respect you enough. And I don't even want to say love you enough, because I don't think love has anything to do with it. I think it has to do with, who is this person, the character of this person, and are they ready to heal and to grow and to go through this journey with you? Now, in hindsight, looking back, that person wasn't ready to do any of that kind of work. And I was just starting to do that kind of work, and going through a betrayal, going through a divorce, going through abandonment and cheating and all of those things will allow you to really realize that that person wasn't ready to do any of the work that either you started to do as well or that you're about to do right now. Now, the stories that we tell ourselves of why didn't they love me? Why wasn't I good enough? The more you live in those stories, the more you are going to start breaking down your self-esteem. The more you are going to start breaking down or convincing yourself that those stories are actually true. There are many mantras that I live by, and one of them that I am constantly telling you guys is what you repeat, you believe. And it's important to kind of like dissect a story to that way you can see that it's actually not the truth, that it's just a story that probably your wounded self is actually cultivating to try to make himself or herself feel better. So that story isn't true, but the more you repeat it and the more you feed it, you're going to believe it to be true. And when you start to do that, number one, like I said, it affects your self-esteem and self-confidence. And number two, you start to get really angry and bitter. I think the really healthy approach here is, and for me, this was a game changer, and it really helped me to not give my power away. So my pain was my responsibility. It wasn't anyone else's. Now, the pain that I feel was given to me by someone, but the minute they gave me that pain by putting me through the situation that I didn't ask for, that they wanted to do to me, I had to own that. I didn't own that I did something to cause that pain, to cause that person to do what they did, but I did have to own that now this is sitting on my lap. It's sitting on my doorstep. It's here, and it's going to ruin my life if I don't deal with it. It's not going to ruin the other person. So when I really understood that concept and I really started practicing it, and I said, okay, it's time to be a big girl. It's time to say, like, I can't blame everyone and everything. I can no longer really sit in this victim role all the time where I'm aggravated and frustrated. Why did this have to happen to me? And why do I have to go through this? This is life, and we all go through painful experiences. And I think when you embrace what you're going through, and now hear me out, I'm not saying that when you're knee deep in pain, you're just going to be Superwoman or Superman and embrace this. No, you're going to ugly cry in the shower. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get angry. You're going to work out 3 times a day. You're going to shed those tears. And all of that is kind of part of the process. But doing that and being in those points is really where you're owning it. You're saying, okay, I feel this way, and now I have to pick myself back up. So the more you do that, and the more you do it in a healthy way, the more you start to not become bitter, not become a victim, slowly start to own your pain so you can heal from it, slowly start to reprogram those stories that you're telling yourself that they moved on and they're happy and it was all about me and there must be something wrong with me and that none of this had anything to do with you. The more you start doing this work, you start building a serious muscle within yourself. You start learning more about relationships. You start learning about how you actually probably weren't that happy. And when you really look at that relationship, is that person everything that you wanted in a partner? Did they respect you? Did they love you? Did they want the same things? Did they share the same values? The answer is always no, because if the answer is yes, they would still be here. And I think it's also really important to make sure that you understand that as this is happening, especially in the beginning where it's really almost impossible to even think about being with another person or going on a date again or whatever that looks like, you will move on. You will eventually move on. And knowing that, for me, kept me hopeful, and then even more so kept me going to think, I actually deserve everything that I wanted, and I'm going to get everything I wanted. Those are phrases and those are affirmations that you have to constantly be feeding yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to believe that you deserve the things that you truly want. And if you don't have that self-worth, then those things are never going to come to your life. That's just the way life actually works. Okay, let's go over when you feel stuck. And the cloud just came in, so here it comes now, the sun's coming out. But if you feel stuck, let's talk about this. Number one, if you are feeling stuck, the biggest reason why you're feeling stuck is because you are addicted to the story. You're addicted to the pain. Now, we all don't want to be negative. We don't all want to be self-loathing, but sometimes we're addicted to it because we've been feeding that story time and time again. So if you are stuck, one of the biggest reasons is going to be stop feeding the stories that are making you feel stuck. Stop feeding all the stories of why did this happen to me? I can't do this. I can't believe I'm here. This pain's never going to go away. And start feeding yourself the more positive statements that you need to hear. You don't need to believe them right off the bat, but you do need to repeat them, because what you repeat, you will believe. The next thing, if you are feeling stuck, is going to be, are you suppressing how you really feel? So we all don't want to experience pain, and sometimes we want to jump right over the sadness and the pain and the uncomfortable, ugly cry in the shower, frustration, everything that we're feeling inside. But life doesn't really work like that, because you have a logical side and you have an emotional side, and you have to learn how to take care of the two, and you have to understand what do you need to be giving yourself in order to take care of yourself emotionally and both mentally, and not experiencing the feelings that you need to feel, whether that's sadness, whatever that looks like, is not going to get you to move on or start even beginning to forgive someone. The biggest thing with forgiveness is understanding that it's a practice. It's a practice. Write it down, highlight it, underline it like 3 times. It is a practice. It's not something that you just decide to do and you're just going to do it, because there's so many emotions and feelings that you're feeling or going to go through that you have to constantly keep doing this process time and time again. Hence self-parenting. That's why I made this course. That's why I teach all my clients this, because it is the only thing that you will ever have to learn in order to be mentally healthy. It allows you to validate. It allows you to detach. It allows you to understand how to process your feelings. It allows you to be able to be self-motivating and to kind of move towards the future rather than just sitting in the past all the time. So learning this practice, again, I will link that course down below. Go check it out. It is a game changer. Learning this process and learning how to do this for yourself, you'll understand that forgiveness is about me. And when we hear these phrases, I remember hearing that years ago, forgiveness is about you, not the other person. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me. I was like, well, it really seems like I'm letting them, okay, you did that, and okay, I'm going to let that go. But it is. You are, because you know why? By me forgiving you, I give myself peace. By me forgiving you, I move on. By me forgiving you, I'm not angry anymore. By me forgiving you, I don't believe that this was a personal attack on me and that you did this just to spite me or that I wasn't good enough. And I understand all of this now. And so understanding why people do what they do, for me, has helped me to forgive. Understanding that we're all human beings and not taking things personally, and that, again, what someone's doing has nothing to do with whether or not I'm good enough or any of those kind of things. You were actually probably too good. You were actually probably a person that was kind of bringing out that wound or that trigger inside that person, and they just didn't want to deal with it. Not everyone wants to open the window, and some people want to just keep that window shut. And for people that jump ship, they don't want to grow, they don't want to open up the window. And is that the person long term for the rest of your life that you would have probably been happy with? Answer is always no. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope I gave you some tips on how to start feeling unstuck, forgiving, and moving on, even when it's really, really hard and painful too. It is a process. Be patient with yourself. And I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in next week's video.